Salve Maria. Today, as we are on Good Friday, let us meditate how our Lord suffered while being crucified on the cross. So please join with me to meditate on the sixth word said by Jesus on the cross. It is finished. So with a prayerful heart, let us begin our reflection. I invite you to imagine a situation wherein you are entrusted with a very difficult and a highly risky task or a mission by a very great king. While trying to finish this job that is given to you, the work itself makes you tense and exhausted. Your only hope during this period is to finish this work. What a happiness we may feel when we are able to complete the work. What dignity you may have when you are able to go fearlessly before the king and say to him, "Your Majesty, I have fulfilled the mission you gave me with the utmost perfection." Jesus, after having suffered the worst types of pain that a human being could ever imagine, realized now that the measure which he was called to suffer reached almost towards its end. Having understood this, he says, "It is finished." He had shed all his blood to redeem mankind. He who was the true high priest made himself an immolated offering to the eternal Father in order to open the gates of heaven to all mankind and to mark the end on the era of the dominion of the demon over the world. It was this precious blood that gave strength to the apostles, courage to the martyrs, holiness to saints, enthusiasm to missionaries, purity to the virgins, or in other words, we may say that through this same blood was born the Christian civilization. The birth of the Holy Mother Church and its expansion across the world, especially in Europe, helped human society to be made confirmed more and more to Catholic principles. And this civilization reached its height during medieval ages. During this era, we see a great number of saints and a great piety and purity in all sectors of society. But unfortunately, we see how the action of the devil, the enemy of God and the human race, penetrating into the society and making it gradually abandon God. Our father and founder Professor Plinio Correa de Oliveira says in his book, The Revolution and the Counter-Revolution, that there is a certain diabolical process which is moved mainly by sensuality and pride in order to lead man away from God. This process he calls as the revolution. The modern society is so much penetrated by this revolution that in every sector we see a rejection of God. It could be art, culture, education, politics, economy, fashions, family, and so on. We see a spirit of atheism, a spirit of hatred against God that has entered into these fields. How many souls being entangled in this diabolical net finally end up in hell? And what a difficult fight the just souls have to launch against the world, the demon and the flesh in our days. But let us not be afraid, for our Lord surely on the cross had already foreseen the fierce battle between the sons of light and darkness, and he offered his sufferings and his precious blood in order to obtain the necessary graces to all the faithful sons of the church, so that they may be victorious in this fight. And having offered all that was necessary, he certainly must have said, "It is finished." It was to remind us that we should never be discouraged because he has offered himself totally for our sake to grant us victory. Therefore, let us love God with all our soul, with all our heart, and with all our mind. But this love has to be accompanied by another factor. It is by having hatred against evil. The sad situation of our modern day spirituality is that it highlights only the importance of love of God, not the hatred against sin. Let us think on the following example. If my mother was attacked by an enemy, isn't it my responsibility to attack the enemy in order to defend my mother? Wouldn't my love towards the mother demand it? Therefore, where there is true love for God, there has to be hatred against evil. That is why we see Jesus, who had been so merciful to pardon so many sinners, to cure so many sick people, and to console so many who were afflicted, but also being indignant against certain evil actions that were committed by others. The chasing of merchants from the temple by our Lord is a typical example. Was Jesus impatient at that moment? Never. He at that moment gave us an example on how we should be indignant against evil actions, fashions, or evil attitudes that cause so much harm to so many souls. We should reject them. We must be vigilant enough to fight against any temptation or even to avoid radically the least occasion of sin. I know that many of us have been used to consider our spiritual life as a small picnic that we make towards heaven, walking on a road that does not even have a shadow of evil. But such a spiritual life is nothing but an illusion. And we should never forget that our life on earth is a warfare against the world, the devil, and the flesh. So let us ask our Lord to have mercy on our weaknesses and to grant us the grace to contemplate Him hanging on the cross, full of hatred against the evil and sin. Let us ask Him to help us to fight against the satanic revolution, as I mentioned before, and the grace of being true counter-revolutionists, true sons of the Church who fight for the reign of Christ on this earth, which is, in other words, the reign of Mary. Therefore, if you like this video, please do remember to share with your loved ones and also to subscribe to our channel. May God bless you. Salve Maria.